Every empire has sworn its currency was unshakable. Every government has promised that its word would endure, and every time, history has proven them wrong. From the fall of Rome to revolutionary France, from the Confederacy to modern Lebanon, ordinary people have woken up to discover their wages worthless, their savings destroyed, and their futures stolen by systems they thought were permanent. Collapse is not rare. Collapse is normal. The real question isn't if financial systems fail, but how you protect yourself when they do. The most dangerous illusion of all is believing money is solid. It isn't. Money is just trust, and trust can disappear overnight. That's why history is so valuable. Every failure leaves behind clues, warnings, and lessons about what holds value and what vanishes. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that survivors of economic disasters weren't the ones who trusted longest, they were the ones who questioned first. Take the Byzantine Empire, remembered as Rome's eastern heir that endured for 1,000 years. At the heart of its stability was the gold Celitus, a coin so pure and reliable, it became the closest thing the medieval world had to a global reserve currency. Yet even after Rome's humiliation with its debased silver denarius, the Byzantines eventually repeated the same mistake with gold, watering down its purity, stretching it thinner, mixing in alloys. At first no one noticed, but once trust cracked, centuries of stability collapsed. Trade faltered, the currency lost credibility, and wealth flowed instead to those who had safeguarded real gold or land. The lesson was clear. Governments cannot resist the temptation to dilute their money, and when they do, value escapes into assets they cannot counterfeit. But collapse isn't always caused by rulers manipulating coins. Sometimes the blow comes from outside. When the Black Death swept through Europe in the 14th century, it killed nearly half the population. Towns emptied, fields went unplowed, and trade routes broke, yet economically the story was more complex. With labor suddenly scarce, survivors could demand higher wages. Land and homes once out of reach became affordable. Those with silver, goods, or even just the ability to work found themselves in a stronger position than ever. The same pattern resurfaced during COVID-19. Disrupted supply chains, massive money printing, and widening inequality. Those with liquidity snapped up assets, while those living paycheck to paycheck fell behind. Pandemics have always reshaped wealth, rewarding those with reserves and crushing those without them. Other collapses came not from disease, but from institutions that seemed unshakable. In Renaissance Florence, great banking dynasties lent vast sums to kings. When Edward III of England defaulted, Florence's most powerful banks toppled. Depositors were wiped out. The lesson was brutal. Too big to fail is one of history's oldest lies. The American Civil War provides another example. To finance the conflict, both the Union and Confederacy flooded the economy with paper money. Inflation ate away at value, and in the South, Confederate notes became almost worthless by the war's end. The people who survived were not those clinging to patriotic currency, but those who held land, food, or gold. France repeated the pattern during its revolution. The new government issued paper money backed by confiscated church lands, but overprinting quickly destroyed its value. Farmers refused to accept it, riots erupted, and the paper became worthless. Once again, the winners were those who held tangible assets the government couldn't simply create. Fast forward to Asia in the 1990s. Thailand's collapse under foreign debt triggered a regional chain reaction. Indonesia, South Korea, and others saw their currencies crash. Ordinary citizens were ruined, while global investors scooped up assets on the cheap. The harsh truth is timeless. Debt denominated in someone else's currency is a trap. When the tide turns, it's the debtor who drowns, and it's not just the distant past. In Lebanon only a few years ago, banks literally locked their doors. Withdrawals were frozen, deposits vanished, and the currency lost 90% of its value. People learned too late that money in a bank is not a treasure chest. It's a loan to an institution that can refuse to repay. The same pattern emerges again and again. Paper money collapses. Debt chains nations, and families, institutions fail without warning. Survival belongs to those who recognize fragility before the cracks appear. So how do you prepare? History offers no single answer, but many clues. In Byzantium, it was gold after the Black Death. It was liquidity to buy abandoned property in Florence. It was skepticism of too big to fail. In the Confederacy, it was hard goods. In France, it was food and land in Asia. It was avoiding debt in foreign currency in Lebanon. It was diversifying outside the banking system. The circumstances change, but the underlying lesson remains the same. Survival lies not in paper promises or institutions, but in real assets, real skills, and the foresight to prepare before illusions collapse. History also shows that collapse is not only tragedy, it is opportunity for the unprepared. It destroys everything. But for those with resilience, reserves, and useful skills, collapse is when wealth changes hands. After the Black Death, peasants became landowners. After 2008, those with cash bought foreclosed homes for pennies. In every crisis, wealth moves from the many who trusted to the few who prepared. And wealth is not only about what you hold, it's about what you can do. The farmer who could grow food, the craftsman who could repair tools, the merchant who could move goods. They didn't just survive collapses. They thrived in them. That is the final lesson. In every collapse, money loses meaning, but production never does. Real assets, real skills, and real awareness, that's what endures when the illusions fall away. So the question is not if everything will collapse, it always does. The question is, when it happens, will you be holding empty promises or something real?